we're going to use as our example newlywed Shaunie O Neal. Oops, I'm sorry. I meant Shaunie Henderson, the new wife of Pastor Keon Henderson in Houston, Texas. And the topic of our discussion is simply this. All right. Listen, we've been having a few technical difficulties, but we are back. I don't know if it's, hopefully we'll stay up. We're having some technical difficulties with our network. We've been trying to improve. Of course, with new equipment comes new problems and new challenges. But listen, I'm glad you guys are continuing to rock with us on tonight. So we're going to get right back into this discussion. Again, we're talking about tonight. Our conversation is about Shaunie O Neal is a first lady. Now what? And as I mentioned before, we are going to see some fresh new faces in the front row in some of these pulpits. But let me ask this question. We hope to answer these questions tonight. Are these new faces, these new first ladies, prepared, especially when they are not a part of that congregation? You know, that happens many times where that first lady is not one that is part of that pastor's congregation. So how can, in our discussion, and our focus is always on fashion, how can fashion help them to prepare for that situation and also to thrive? Let's talk about it. So, just so you know, oftentimes the first lady of the church, at least in the black church, is known as the quote-unquote fragrance of the house. Now, let me know if you've heard that term before in the chat so that I can know who's watching this clip, all right? I want to know. Have you ever heard of that term? Fragrance of the house. The question then becomes not only for First Lady Shaunie, but to any newly married First Lady. What type and what kind of fragrance will you produce? Will it be one that propels other women to take on your fragrance? Or will it perhaps be one that the other women in the congregation reject because they find issue with this new fragrance? Let me ask you, have you ever been in a place and someone walks in, right? They walk in and they have some strong cologne on, or perfume for that matter. I mean, that cologne or perfume is strong and it's wrong. What do you do?
Bruh.
Do you turn your nose up just a little when they walk by? Do you give them the side eye? Now listen, if you said yes, then just imagine that being what some first ladies' experience is when they pass by their female congregants. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this term first lady, let me explain it to you, right? Let me give it to you straight. So in the black church, the first lady is the highest ranking female member of the congregation. No, listen. I'm only kidding because I don't want to get into any discussion about whether you believe in that title, first lady. So for tonight, just take my word for it. And this is a term oftentimes used in the black church out of respect for the pastor's wife, all right? So this phenomenon of single pastors is really something that the church of old would have rejected. But in this new age, we find again that there are several young pastors that have been appointed that are single men and oftentimes single women. And so tonight, however, as I mentioned in my post, there are those who are formerly were the most eligible bachelor pastors that were married this year. And one of the things that many times male pastors have to deal with when they're single in the pulpit is the problem with women who are part of their congregations who believe themselves to be the next first lady. Okay. Now that oftentimes, and you could kind of see how that would somewhat pose a problem when the pastor marries someone that is not part of that congregation. You can kind of see how that would pose a problem. As I mentioned earlier, there have been a few over the course of this year. If you're not aware, that list includes Bishop Marvin Winans, who was married during this year. That's he and Miss formerly Deneen Carter. And so we have he and Miss Deneen were wed this year, and I'm telling you, he was on that list of the most eligible pastors. That's right, he was on that list. But not to be outdone by Bishop Marvin Winans was none other than the preacher man himself, Bishop Noel Jones. Also, he married this year after a very long relationship with his now bride. Finally, he made her his wife, First Lady Loretta, a beautiful woman. He has wed her, and I'm so excited for her. I'm sure that you are just as excited. If you watched the Preachers of LA, you saw that couple even back, that was what, eons ago, right? But Bishop Noel Jones finally made her his bride, his wife. You know, I just wonder, and I ain't trying to start no trouble, but I wonder how many of the single women and those congregations now feel like they are simply at a loss because they did not become the first lady.
Hey, bro.
Very interesting. I just wonder.
Oh my God.
So listen, let me ask you a question. And if you're single, I want you to think about this. How many of you are waiting and following that single pastor, hoping that when he determines that it is time for him to marry, that he will pursue a relationship with you? Come on, I want to see. I mean, just be honest. But listen. Let me just save you some time. It's not going to happen. It's not. Listen, most of the time, if history records it correctly, and I believe that it does, the single pastor always marries someone who is not a part of his congregation. Listen, I'm just trying to save you some time. You would be better off. Listen, you would be better off joining another church in hopes that that pastor will see you and want to marry you as part of another congregation, all right? So listen, that is why it is my belief that when a woman becomes first lady of a congregation in which she was not a part of, it is important. It is really important that she does things, and these things that I'm going to share, because let's be honest, even though she has won her man, she has won the prize, she's still in competition. Come on, you know that. And the reason being that she must understand that there are those who thought they were going to be in her position or simply going to play her position. So the first thing she has to do is make certain that she presents herself in a fashion that is above the rest. Did you get that? Present herself in a fashion that is above the rest. Listen, now that you've said I do, now what? Listen, I want to simply give you 3 things newly married first ladies should know. Every newly married first lady should know. So I want us, first of all, we're talking about Shaunie O Neal tonight. We're using her as our muse tonight. So let's examine a clip of Shaunie Henderson. Yes, I didn't slip up that time. I said Shaunie Henderson. And then we can go further in our discussion concerning what you should do after you've said, I do. All right? So let's watch this and we'll come back with some commentary.
What's up, boy? We jealous. See where your money went. I love meeting.
Foot rest.
You can be comfy in my session.
Devil up, searching up.
My kind of snack bar right there. Really can't find anything that I don't love. That's the point. That's the whole point, right? I like it.
If you let them.
Now, I'd like to first say that I think that was wonderful how they have embraced her thus far, and how her husband has now redecorated, redone that particular space so that it could be an office, the First Lady's office, the First Lady wing of their administrative offices. And I think that is wonderful. I think that is, shout out to Pastor Keon Henderson for that and his congregation. I have to applaud them. I know we can give them some applause. Yes, give them some hand claps in the chat if you're there. Give us some hand claps because we can applaud their efforts to make her feel wonderful and welcome. All right? But what is it that Shaunie O Neal can do, Shaunie Henderson can do first to really, they welcome her, but she has to now establish herself as the fragrance of the house. So let's talk about what I believe should be first and foremost, and that is simply being sustainable. Sustainable. Now, what do I mean by that? So sustaining your fashion, first of all, in order to sustain anything, you have to make certain that you start something that you can continue. Simply because sustainable by definition, as you can see right here, means able to be maintained, able to be upheld or defended. Sustainable definitions of good educational practices, sustainable. So what does that suggest to you? Let me ask you that question. When someone says that you must be sustainable, what does it suggest to you? Well, what it suggests to me is that you should not start wearing fashion or styles that you can't continue to wear. It all has to do with how you present yourself to your congregation at the beginning. That's an inside joke. Shout out to Bill Bellamy in the beginning. Nevertheless, you have to watch how you present yourself to your congregation in the beginning and at the beginning. So you have to ask yourself, can you continue in that same vein? For instance, if you start by presenting yourself as someone who is uber conservative in terms of fashion and style, is that something that you can sustain? Really, think about it. How many times have you started something and started even in a relationship, and you started off and you were high fashion, but as the relationship went on, your fashion began to dwindle, and then that relationship did as well. But listen, if you are more comfortable in bodycon dresses than the typical congregant first lady attire, then it would be best, in my opinion, to start off that way so that you can at least be true to yourself and therefore be able to sustain and walk in your truth. So be sustainable. Sustainable. The next tip that I want to share with you, and I hope that you'll understand this, is that you should desire as a first lady to be inspirational in terms of your attire and your presence. Inspirational. How can I be inspirational in terms of my attire? It's a very good question. And in order to define that for you, I want to pivot to someone who I think, and I think you may agree with me, and I'm hoping that you do, someone who I think is a very good example for newly married first ladies. Now, let me tell you, it is good to have examples. It is even better to have those who can mentor you if you are a new first lady. So let's look at one. Let's look at one in particular who I believe is very inspirational in terms of her fashion and her presence. And that is none other than First Lady Sarita Jakes. Come on, give her some hand claps in the chat. If you're the First Lady Sarita Jakes is an example of inspirational fashion and presence. Not only is her fashion inspirational, but her actions and presence are always inspiring. Remember, to all the would-be first ladies, you are being watched. Now listen, don't take that as a bad thing. Some women are watching you because you are their example of what they want to become as a woman, not as a first lady. So just embrace it. Embrace that. Be inspirational in terms of your attire and your presence. You know, it's wonderful to see a first lady who is supportive of her husband in the pulpit. It's wonderful to see someone who is demonstrative in terms of their praise and their inspiration. First Lady Sarita Jakes is a wonderful example of just that. So another tip I want to offer for Shaunie Henderson, Loretta Jones, and Deneen Winings is that you must remember to evolve in your fashion. Evolution, evolve in your fashion. Now listen, I know you are thinking, you just told us to be sustainable, and now you are asking us to evolve. That sounds like you're contradicting yourself. You know, I see your point. But give me a moment and let me explain. So with evolution, you don't change from one thing to another thing. You don't go from a zebra to a tiger. That's not evolution. But for example, the evolution of a caterpillar into a butterfly, it's not a change into something different. I know, follow me closely here. Caterpillar into a butterfly. To us, it appears that there is a difference. There is what it started off as a caterpillar, now it is a butterfly. It's something different. But let me explain to you. It's not a change into something different. It is evolving into that which was there from the beginning. That's that word again, in the beginning. See, you don't know, you do know that every caterpillar has within it the capacity to become a butterfly. And that is what you must do as a first lady who must lead alongside your husband. There is a butterfly inside of you. You have to evolve in order for that butterfly to show up. You have to evolve. So again, let's look at the evolution again of First Lady Sarita Jakes, shall we? Oh, this is good. Let's look at this, and I want you to know this. I want you to be cognizant of these changes, this evolution of First Lady Sarita Jakes from their wedding. Now listen, hold that picture back up there, please. Look at the size of Bishop T.D. Jakes in this photo. Oh my goodness, I know we can't see his hair, but that is the bishop. The bishop was as slim as I am. Oh my gosh. This is the early years. Let's move on. Oh, look at that. That's Sarah and Cora. Wow. These are the early, this is the whole Jakes family. Now, you remember when you had that hairdo. Don't try to play that bun. You remember, thanks AB, that bun you had on your head. Come on. And look, right here, I believe right here, this was circa, I believe, 2014. This is when you started to see more of her evolution. Remember, you can evolve. Now let's look at the evolution in terms of her fashion and overall appearance. I love it. I love it. She is looking amazing here. And look, you can't be afraid to do the whole makeover. Don't just change the dress. Sometimes you got to change the hair. I love it when you're versatile in this manner. And I think as a first lady, your congregation will appreciate your versatility. They will appreciate your evolution. Now, I love this whole look that Miss Sarita Jakes is working this outfit. Say that again, Abe. You know what? You're absolutely right, AB. That was about a year ago. And you can tell that she's really evolving, and I believe is at the precipice of that full-blown butterfly. Oh, look at this wonderful number here. I'm telling you, you know what? There is a greater confidence that I get from her now. That is, again, it appears that she has come into herself. Now, let me share this, that sometimes coming to yourself or coming into your own, we would say, that those things come with maturity. And that's to be noted. As you mature, you come into your own fashion sense and style. However, what if I said to you that a strong fashion game gets you to your confident self sooner? Now, if I said that to you, would that shift the way you felt about fashion? You know what? It should, because we all need that confidence boost every now and then. Fashion can do just that. The best thing about the First Lady evolving is that she can then provoke her husband to do the same in terms of fashion. And what most of us love, believe me, I love it, is to see a powerful couple in the kingdom that not only carry the anointing, but look amazing doing so. Okay! Yes. Now just look at this amazing evolution from none other than Bishop T.D. Jakes and First Lady Sarita. Let's take a look at that. Now look at that. Now I will admit there was a time when this look was popular. You probably I probably have a pair of pants that look just like that in my closet. The picture on the left in the white blazer, that picture with the super huge baggy pants for Bishop T.D. Jakes, that was a look. But look how they are evolving, and in the evolution, as you can take note of, Miss Sarita is watching her girly figure. Yes, she's a curvy girl, but she's watching her figure on these photos. Oh, I love it. I love it. I don't know. This is giving me high fashion right here. I mean, can't you check out the coordination of the colors? See, let me tell you, when you coordinate colors as a couple, you don't have to go too far with it. You can be subtle. This is a clue for some of you that want to match everything and all that. No. Be subtle in your coordination, okay? And they are doing a great job at it. Let's go on to another. And I'm telling you, I really like this. I really like this. Now, you know, I will say this, that, you know, perhaps the skinny jeans are not for everyone. But I can appreciate Bishop T.D. Jakes is evolving in his fashion sense along with First Lady Jakes. And listen, I know that I promise you only 3 tips, but can I please just throw in one more tonight? Can I just throw in one more? And that is simply this. And I hope someone gets this to these first ladies right away. And that is to remember, this is our bonus tip. You are his wife first. Yes. I know you're the first lady of the congregation, but you are his wife first. I know there's so many responsibilities and obligations that First Lady has for church, but this is one that you should never forget. And that your calling is one thing, but what you did before God and man is of the utmost importance. Remember, you are his wife first. I know you're the first lady, but Shaunie Henderson, remember this. Loretta Jones, remember this. Dina Winans, remember this. You are his wife first. Listen, it's time to bring our discussion to a close, and I have really enjoyed you all on tonight. I really appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with us even through the technical difficulties, and just continue to rock with us as we endeavor to bring fashion to you in different ways. We want to discuss fashion and different events, and we hope to continue to do so. But I want you to remember that this is He Spoke Fashion. I don't know what happened to my music, and I am your host, and my aim tonight was simple, and it was simply to use Shaunie Henderson's nuptials and newfound role as First Lady as a teachable moment in order to have some dialogue that may in fact help her as well as others in the same position. As I've stated before, fashion gives you an advantage, and in this setting, it will definitely help to set her apart from those who are competing with her. Now, they're competing with her. She's not competing with them. But for whatever reason, they're competing. And to those who are simply inspired by her. I hope that those of you who are watching tonight or will watch this in the future will note that my intent was to say to those who desire the role of the First Lady to be careful for what you wish for, because sometimes you just might get it. That's all I have for you tonight. And I want you to make sure that you have a good night, good fashion. And remember, He spoke fashion to you. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button. And remember, fashion changes, and so can you. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. See you next week. Yeah. In the building.
He spoke fashion. I'm telling he spoke fashion. So bad. He spoke fashion. I'm telling he spoke